Hi. How's everybody doing out there? One moment. I need my high chair. I need my high chair to go live. Maybe that's not going to work. Okay, let's try it this way. Okay, hello, and welcome to the news that didn't make the news. We had a lot of shenanigans with my light and all kinds of other things. So hopefully this is going to be an easier video. You can hear my table squeaking. Hello and welcome to the news that didn't make the news. Now, the title of this video is Miracles. So let's talk about the first miracle before I actually start this video. The first miracle is that I finally figured out how to edit my YouTube channel. So that means two things. As you might have seen, anybody who watched the last video went from an hour and 3 minutes to 25 minutes and 55 seconds. Because, yes, miracle of all miracles, Tina Hammond learned how to edit her YouTube channel. It's a miracle. Okay. The real thing that I'm here to talk about is the miracle of pulling in different sort of healing field energy. In 2014, I had a dream, and the dream was just simply me hearing this man's voice, and the man's voice said to me, the copper spiral is the answer to all that needs healing. Now, at that time, when I would get messages, I would look things up, and I would look things up a lot. So when I started looking up the messages I was receiving, specifically the messages from the dream about the copper spiral being the antidote to anything that needs healing, I looked it up and found all kinds of disinformation about how copper depletes the body of iron and how it wasn't good for the human body and all of these other things. You probably know a lot of Eastern countries drink out of copper glasses because obviously they have some information that hasn't gotten lost somewhere along the way. So I have turned my living room, or I should say my dining room, at the moment has been turned into a Tesla lab at sorts. So 2014, I had the dream, and I woke up in the middle of the night after hearing this man's voice saying that the copper coil was the answer to anything that needed to be healed. I didn't do anything with the copper coil. I did start carrying pennies in my pocket at work, and I did that for quite a while. Now, I didn't get sick until 2018, so this information came to me 4 years before I got sick. Here's the thing. I forgot about the dream. Now, I do gardening and landscaping and tarot reading for a living. So I have some clients that are the same repeated clients every week. Okay. So I had a client who wanted rainbow chard and yellow pear tomatoes. So I went and bought those for myself, and I also bought those for her. So I bought my produce at the same time that I brought that I bought her produce. Now I work for her every Thursday, and she buys a lot of, things off the internet that I would never even consider buying. But so I bought her vegetables at the same garden center at the same time, and I bought her the exact same varieties that I bought myself. 7 days later, when I went back to her house, her vegetables were 20 times the size of mine. And so I immediately said, hey, what's going on here? And she said that there was some sort of artisan on Etsy that made a copper coil to put in your garden because it was supposed to pull in electromagnetic energy that the soil needs to then produce vegetables, larger vegetables at an expedited rate. Basically, that was the sense. So upon looking, and the stuff that I planted for her, we made a couple of years ago, I made for her these big wooden troughs. So you don't have to bend, she doesn't have to bend over to garden. So they're about waist high. And the lettuce was so full that I didn't even see the copper coil that she had in there. My very initial gut instinct, as soon as I saw what she had in there, like the vegetables were huge. I went in and asked her, I came back out and I grabbed that copper coil out of her raised bed and I slid it right down the top of my, into my barrette. I have this large, women will know what I mean, this big, like clip thing that holds my hair in a bun. So I took that copper coil and I just slid it down in there. And so I was wearing that for about 4 years. In 2004, I got assaulted and my head swelled up. So I had a mild concussion at that point. And I have had that mild concussion since 2004 and it has never gone away. So my head swells up if I work too much or get too stressed out or whatever. So I put the copper coil and wore it around her house, I don't know, probably for about 4 hours. And the pain was gone out of my head and a lot of the swelling went down. So it's a really long time to have a head injury. So a very amazing chain of events happened. And I started this video by saying in 2014, I had a dream. I woke up to this man telling me that the copper spiral was the answer to everything, to all that needs healing. I go to this lady's house. I see that her food is 20 times bigger than mine in 7 days because I actually planted hers the day after mine. I take her copper coil and I put it in my head. So as soon as I left her house, I went to the hardware store and bought myself, I don't know, I think 11 feet of copper coiling. So she sends me this 8-minute video, and the video is about essentially how it works with these energetic fields and creates a vortex to pull in whatever the soil is missing. Okay. And it's a long and involved process, but know this, the simplest part of this equation is because of over farming, our soil has way too much iron in it. So the over farming itself, like, is not the actual problem. The problem is that they are everything that they use to amend the soil, the things that they use, like the manure, the pesticides, everything has 2 to 3 kinds of iron in it. So iron does the exact opposite thing that copper does. It stops the conductivity. So if you're living somewhere like on the East Coast or in Ohio like me, you have 3 or 4 month growing season to produce, as much food as you can produce. Well, it's hard if you don't have a lot of space, and it can really take a lot of time and a lot of energies. So I have been taking over this yard. I will 1111. I will have lived in this building for 3 years, and I've just been taking more and more of this yard over, over and over again. And last time I talked to you about my, I had cucumbers that were not doing well at all because the dirt was mismarked or had some kind of component in it that was too concentrated to use in containers, even though the bag specifically said it was for container gardening. I realized that something was going wrong and intuitively knew what it was in about a week. But by that point, they were so damaged, I didn't think that this crop was going to make it. So I took them out 5 or 6 days ago, I guess, whenever I made the last video. I made a mound in the yard and I moved the trellis and put them in completely new soil, got rid of all of that soil, and they were not getting any better. So this video is going to be about, so far, intuitively, on an intuitive level, what I know. So there's a couple things I want to say first, and I know that the people that are here, that's interesting that you guys have been receiving information lately about copper as well. So this started for me when I saw that I had bought this client the same plants on the same day and that hers were 20 times bigger. It was just like I was going to just go home and, start experimenting with, and I'm just jokingly calling it Tesla technology. So that was intended for the food. However, I stuck it, like I said, I stuck it in my hair. But to be honest with you, I debated whether I wanted to. There's a lot of things I'm debating whether I want to say. So first of all, let me make a disclaimer. The people that always watch my videos know perfectly well that I am not a doctor in any way, shape, or form. I am not a doctor, and this is not medical advice. As soon as I put that copper coil on my body, before I stuck it up in my hair, my initial gut reaction was to stick it down in my bra. Okay. So I did that. And this dream of the copper coil was from 9 years ago. So it wasn't until I took the copper coil out of her garden and put it into my bra that I had a flashback of the dream from 9 years ago, that the copper coil was the answer to everything that needed healing. Now, obviously, I was shoveling and landscaping and planting bushes. It was not going to work to have this thing stuck in my bra, and I bent over. It was hitting me in the chin. So I ended up putting it in my hair with immaculate results. So after working for her, I came home. I made 2 of these. One I made because, well, as you guys know, I was too sick to work for a year and a half. So I had a roommate, which is my niece, and the 2 of us together, I think, have about 70 plants, somewhere around there. And we have 1 plant out of 70 that's sick. So I decided to take a shish kebab stick and make something to heal the plant with. So the first one I made was for the cucumbers outside, and then I made. Now I've got them on both sides of the building where I have the food planted. I have them everywhere. So initially, I thought I would take a shish kebab stick and make a small one. However, this was really, really difficult to make. And then I wound and put a crystal at the top of this. So here's the deal. You want to use something found in nature, you can use a stick even from your backyard. The copper is the conductivity, obviously. Anything that is piezoelectric, meaning connecting to the electric field, which would be volcanic ash or some kind of quartz, amplifies what the draw is from the piezoelectric component here. and it also amplifies the energy coming out from the copper coil. So if you're making one of these for your garden, you can take a stick from your own yard. I had a lot of bamboo laying around, so because I use bamboo as tomato stakes, so I did the first one with bamboo. I also ended up going back and buying 250 feet of copper coiling. So if you want to play around with it, your local hardware store, you can probably buy it for $1.25 or $1.50 a foot, something like that. But once I made the first one, I knew that I wanted to continue with this. So I put it in the cucumbers because they're the only thing in my garden that are not doing well at all. And the cucumbers had 2 or 3 new leaves and new flowers in the next morning. So I made them and put them in there around 6 o'clock at night. And I got up and went out there at about 6:30. They already had new flowers. They already had new leaves, and the old stuff is just really burnt from whatever stuff that was in the soil that was toxic. So you can make these. There are no rules to this. If you are gardening, or even if you have a sick tree, or even just have a flower bed, or even flower pots on your balcony, whatever, um, you want to do it with the stick. You can buy a dowel rod. A dowel rod is a lot more expensive than buying bamboo. But also, and I did buy a dowel rod to experiment because they didn't have bamboo at the first place that I went to. So this is the first one that I made, and you can leave an opening to put whatever you want in here, but it needs to be something that is piezoelectric, which is, I know, volcanic ash, okay, or the clay from volcanic ash, and quartz. So that's what this one is. And this one is for the indoor plants. Now, if you're making this outside, and the stick itself does not have to be 6 foot tall, but just to give you an idea, and I just actually came home and started making these before I even watched the video. So I do have an 8-minute video. If I can figure out how to post that on my page here on YouTube, I will do that. If you guys are interested, and if I can't figure it out, I'll probably post it on Facebook. So you want to, the stick is rather heavy, and I found out the hard way. Not because I was making, originally I had made the stake itself, the bottom part of this, out of copper, because it said to stick it 6 inches into the ground. But what I later then did was just started wrapping this all the way down at the bottom of the stick, okay, and then all the way up. So a 6 foot stick coiled with copper goes 225 square feet in the garden, okay. So if you have a balcony or a really small vegetable, just one of these will do it. Okay, so my mom does not have a garden. She has an apartment with a lot of plants in it. And so I'm gifting her this. Tomorrow is her birthday and also Father's Day. So even though they're not together, we have a party for them every year, Father's Day and my mom's birthday at the same time. Oh, shoot. I think I meant to bring the one in here for my dad and show you guys that. Okay, so my dad has a huge vegetable garden. So this is the one that I made for him. And what I did on the bottom was I stuck the copper in the bottom up in there, and then just started to wrap it around. And I did the same thing at the top. I don't know if you can see this. So I left the space at the top here. I just kept coiling it once the stick was over and done with, so that he could then drop a couple of pieces of quartz or whatever in this if he wanted to. So he has probably, I would say it's maybe 250, 300 square feet most that he has of garden. So this should do the whole thing. He also has fruit trees and flowers and um, stuff all over the place. but that's the one that I made for him. My mom just has indoor plants. Now, the reason why I came to you with this disclaimer that you guys know full well that I am not a doctor, but I'm going to say it again. I'm not a doctor, and this is not medical advice. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you everything that I received intuitively since I've been doing that. Oh, I'm not done showing you toys yet. So my neighbors are letting me experiment. My neighbor has neuropathy and a couple of other things, but he told me that he felt different since the stakes have been outside, and he went out today and bought me a pair of pliers, and I made him a bracelet. The copper coiling that I bought was 50 feet, but it's if you can see this, it's 5 wires thick. Okay. So here's the first thing I did for myself. You guys, if you don't know, I had surgery for ovarian cysts, and I may talk more about what's been going on with me for the last 2 years. I may talk about that, and I may never talk about it. Okay. So right now you're in my secret lab, and this is what I'm doing. So this goes around me twice. I actually tried to zip tie it today, okay? And I do want you to know that I went out to breakfast in a fancy restaurant this morning wearing this, okay? So I've been wearing this for 2 days straight. Obviously, I'm not sleeping with it. If anyone has any creative ideas, let me know, because this has sharp edges at the end of it. And initially thought I had a genius moment, and I thought I could use like an electrical cap like that's inside your sockets, but I don't want to cap off the antenna with anything. So I thought about maybe dipping it in candle wax or something that might get messy in my bed. I've been wearing this for 2 days um, because the first day that I made one, I made like a small kind of 6-inch antenna, and I put it in my bun, and I went out and walked the neighborhood with no shoes and an antenna sticking up. The amount of clarity is stimulated somewhere coming at a cellular level is absolutely mind-blowing. And maybe you haven't experienced major illness, but I know that there are at least 3 people on my channel that have had major illness besides me in the last couple of years. And I may decide to talk about that, and I may not. And you guys did know that I had surgery. I did, the video in the hospital and all that. I never told anyone the extent of it. And the reason that I did not was because I didn't want to discuss things, because even the people that knew were constantly asking me what the doctors were saying and that kind of stuff. Those were not things that I ever wanted to repeat. And I knew that I could take care of this myself. So this I have been wearing. See, I went to Menards and bought this, and then my girlfriend wanted to go back to Menards to buy some of the same plants that I did. So I have been wearing this in public for 2 days, and I really don't. Even my neighbor today was like, I thought for sure she was going to say something about taking it off before I went in the restaurant, but she looked at me and she's like, no one cares. But there was an older lady that was really staring me down. But do you think I care after everything I've been through? And again, maybe one of these days I will talk about it. Maybe when it's over. Okay. And again, I am not a doctor, and this is not medical advice. And I am saying that because I'm saying it because that's what is required to say. Since I have put copper on, I have got nothing but intuitive messages about everything. Now, I used to look up my dreams, my intuitive messages, things like that. I don't do that a lot. I rarely do that anymore, because what I find on the internet is either usually the opposite of what I received, or um, it just gets really confusing to me, from a medical standpoint, from a quantum physics standpoint, from a mathematical standpoint. Whatever I'm receiving gets really convoluted when I try to look things up. So what happens when you have way too much iron in the ground? Everything gets out of balance. When the plants get out of balance, they become ill, and that is what attracts bugs to eat your plants. Bugs do not come and eat plants that are healthy, okay? Your body works the exact same way. So a disease and illness does not come to a healthy electric field. Bugs do not come to healthy plants. So as not a doctor, I'm telling you for sure, this is about energy. And I've known this is about energy and healing energy and energetic fields for a really long time. As you guys know, I was doing the Dr. D'Souza meditation of putting yourself out there into nowhere land, erasing your identity so you could put yourself in touch with said quantum field of healing. So I knew that that was extremely important, but I've also known for a really long time that I was missing something. And ironically, in the last video, I kept saying, using the phrase, wave my wand, even though what I had in my hand, foreshadowing, was not a wand. It was my notebook. And if you guys watched the last video, it's changing the color of that. So what I'm telling you, not as a doctor, is that plants, when they are unhealthy, it's systemic. Okay. And an unhealthy plant comes from unhealthy soil. So once you fix the soil, you can grow insane plants. Okay, so this 8-minute video that I had, I looked up, or a lady that I worked for sent me another video from this same man. And this video said that they were growing 17, 18-foot tall tomato plants, 20-inch carrots, 9-foot pumpkins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I'm probably, for some reason, I'm built the opposite of everybody else. When people tell me stuff that sounds outlandish, instead of saying that sounds outlandish or crazy or I don't believe it, I always try it, especially if it's something that's, that I can make, that's easy to do. If someone says, hey, this will work for this or whatever, I'm always, always, always going to try it. So I decided to try this. So what I saw after watching this little 8-minute clip about how the sap of the plant is what regulates the health, and the sap of the plant is directly connected to the soil, and the soil is because of the practice of over farming, which really is only about putting iron into the soil. It has disturbed the soil. Now we have other things that are going on as well that are disturbing the soil. So the cell towers and 5G and human electricity running through the organic meridians or ley lines of the earth as well. So everything is affecting everything. But when I heard this man say that the sap of the plant was the blood and that the problem was coming from the dirt, immediately today, I said to myself, okay, so the sap for the human body, that's blood. Okay. So what is the dirt for the human body? What is the problem with the dirt in a human body that would make the human body unhealthy? And again, it's everything plays a part in it, but I don't want to dip into everything right now. I just want to dip into the connection, the piezoelectric connection, and the terrain. Okay, so if we look at Earth having all these different kinds of iron and stuff, the plant sap is like the blood system of the human. This is what I saw today. And then I asked, so I'm not planted in dirt. So what is the dirt? What is the thing for me that has too much iron? And immediately I saw my skeletal structure. And you guys know that I'm not a doctor. I'm telling you what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing over here. I've been wearing this for 2 days. I've got 4 of these in my yard right now. I've got two of them in the house right now. A lot of us have want to do more or have taken more things into our own hands recently than we ever have. And food is something that this planet and all of humanity is wanting to take back into their hands. Now, you could even be going to the grocery store and buying organic food, but it's totally going to be different than what you're planting in your own yard. And that's for a couple of different reasons. When you're outside interacting with your garden, it says that the plant can psychically scan your body and knows what it needs. And it will decide its sap makeup. Okay, so what is affecting your blood and your bones based on your energy of what you need. So you may know that, like, something is high in potassium, for example, but that plant, your interaction with that plant may lessen the potassium or increase the iron or other things like that. So there was a practice, I don't know, it probably started thousands of years ago before big farming started, that they would put a seed under their tongue before they planted it, and that would give the plant directions on specifically what that person needed. Yes, exactly. The soil is so completely depleted. Now, the reason the soil, and so again, even if you're buying organic food like me, doesn't mean that the balance is off. And then we have cell towers. I lived in a place for, I think, a year and a half that had a radiation problem to the point, and that is actually, that was right before I got sick. So I suspect that's where it's coming from. I was seeing a green light or green energy under my floor. I asked where it was coming from. There was a chemical plant a mile and a half from me that started dumping things in the 70s when they were no longer allowed to use them, and toothpaste and a bunch of other stuff that this factory made. So they dumped it into the water supply. It was under the ground in my house, and I started seeing it. And I got out of there as fast as I could. Um, but it had done an incredible amount of damage to my body already. That is what I am working on reversing, and that is what I've spent 2 years working on reversing. Um, I have saved my own life in the last 2 years. But just a week ago, I said, listen, I have done extreme everything, extreme exercise, extreme sleep, extreme vitamin therapy, extreme meditation, walking without shoes, you name it. I have done it. I stopped eating everything, basically. I think for 12, 13 months, I was eating like spinach, rice noodles, blended vegetable soup. I was eating like 8 foods for a year. I have done everything humanly possible. And a week ago, I said, listen, I have, now I'm going to do we're going to finish this off in the fastest, safest way that my body can handle. Okay. And within, I think it was hours, copper came to me. So I will let you know how the experimentation is going. As you know, we can't see inside our body. So I can only gauge by how I feel. But I'm using it on my sick plants in the house and outside. So I can also look at those things and see how they're doing. Yeah, we have tons of environmental effects. We all know about chemtrails. We all know about everything. The thing is with the over farming, it's eluding me. David Wilcock talked about this guy a lot, but I did not know that he was. I did not know that he was involved in the aspect that I recently found out he was, and I can't think of his name. I want to say Schomburger, but I could be wrong. He's from Europe. He had made his own tools, for whatever reason. Back in the day, people made stuff. They made their own clothes, they grew their own food, but he made tools. Okay. And he realized when using copper and wood that there was such an incredible difference that he went to Parliament or whoever it was. I can't remember if he was in Sweden. But anyway, he went to petition the fact that we changed tools and how good they were for the food and how good they were for the, the planet and how much food could be generated and all this stuff. And they just told him point blank, we have contracts with the farming industry for fertilizer and all these things. So even if you're buying organic food, they do allow certain amounts of pesticides and things like that. And also, they don't, if you start talking to somebody about iron, hey, can I use iron in the raspberry patch or whatever? The government is certainly not going to say no to that, because how easy would that be, knowing you can switch off the spin or switch off the life force to all living things by simply giving them too much iron. And I'm telling you, I'm not a doctor. Women's 1 a day plus iron. How many times? That's something that hit me today when I was walking. Like, I remember that commercial running for 20, 30 years, 1 a day plus iron for women. So I'm going to tell you right now, you should not be taking any supplement with iron in it. If you're buying organic food, there's still going to be iron used in the fertilizers and the pesticides. Organic food does allow pesticides to be used. It's just at a lesser amount or whatever. Because of everything that we are doing, and from a man-made standpoint of view, we are depleting the soil of the things that um, make the food grow, make the food taste amazing. Okay. I mean, I've been gardening for a really long time. I've lived in apartments for a really long time. So I haven't been able to garden to the extent that I want to garden at. But even still, and I love doing it, don't get me wrong, but it's extreme labor. It's a lot of work just to produce enough food just to eat, um, you know, for 2 months. So this is amazing, amazing, amazing. So you can do this totally intuitively, like I did. What I noticed when I went, so originally I bought it at Ace Hardware by the foot. After I started getting the intuitive hits, I went to Menards. Okay, so they have all different kinds of gauges of this. If you want to make yourself a bracelet, like something that's pretty, something that you would want to wear all the time, you might want to go to a jeweler or go to some specialty place, or a really small gauge online that you could braid. You can make a necklace, you could do whatever out of it. I do not know what gauge I have, because believe you me, I was so excited. I tore into that package and it went straight in the garbage can. So what I have here, what I'm wearing, is a 5 braid, which I've never taken apart. Because it's 5 braids and it's 50 feet. So that's like 250 feet, I suppose. That's what I bought. It is $67. Depending on if you're wanting to make something like dainty that you can wear and never take off, you might need a jeweler, or order it online somewhere that you can get a really small gauge on that. However, that was not my intention. Like I said, I've been wearing this out of the house for 2 days and I don't really care. I'm not going to sleep in this. I thought about it, but like I said, it has sharp edges that I don't want to cap, because I don't want to cut off that connectivity with plastic or wax or something like that. So I took this off and just put it in between, or kind of like behind my pillows. So it's actually still in bed with me. Now, this is very fantastic. As I did tell you, because my cucumbers were sick, I moved them out of the bucket. And because they take up so much room on the ground, I had to move them down 10 feet from where they used to be. And so when I replanted them and made this mound, before I knew I was going to turn into Tesla over here, I put the sick cucumber right out my window. So the first night I had this and another just plain 6-inch coil. When I first started making them, I was just making a 6-inch coil. And so I had both of those out my window, and it was like the energy of a full moon. I had a very, very, very hard time getting to sleep, which I did not connect it to that initially. And then once I was asleep, it was almost, it was like only being half asleep. My body was resting, but I was very consciously aware of the dreamscape and the place I was in. So you can make these for your house, you can make them for your garden, you can make them whatever. If you really need it, you can do this. So there's a longer video that my client sent me later in the day. I just gave a couple, talked about a couple of things, and there are three main people that have been studying and using copper across the board. There's just three main people that kind of really stand out that this guy was studying. Okay. Um, he said that those books, he's not able to buy the books. Even when he does find them and he orders them, they don't show up, or they send a different book or something. So I'm guessing the information, the kind of more out there spectrum, is going to be very hard to find. There are people on Instagram, I heard from this guy, that have, it's a huge following for electroculture. So people using this to heal soil, heal garden, grow amazing crops. The name of that is Electroculture. Okay, so the electricity affects the culture of every living, breathing cell of your soil and the sap or the blood of your plant. And systemically, it's health and also yours, hence why I'm wearing it. Um, in one of the studies that was talked about, there was a plant that was covered in tumors. And so the guy that was experimenting just took a copper coil and made a spiral around the plant, and all the tumors fell off. Now, these three people, these three very prominent people, all had a very, very tough existence. Okay. And I know that a lot of people are talking about it from the gardening aspect. And the last thing I want is any more kind of attention that's the kind of attention that I don't want. This is imperative. If you know anybody that's sick, and I know people have a tendency to say, oh, well, that's ridiculous. That couldn't make my cyst fall off of my body, or that couldn't cure my cancer, or that couldn't, whatever they're going to say. But if you know someone that's sick, you get, and when I was, for me, I would try anything that my intuition told me to try to better my life, to bring that happiness stimulation back to the cells. Because what I received today is there's something about having too much iron in your bones, in your blood system, that stops the spinning of the body. So depending on how sick you are, your field, in a healthy body, your field should be spinning counterclockwise. In an unhealthy body, that field will stop spinning, and or depending on how unhealthy, spin counterclockwise. So you could also put your arms out and literally spin. That will help you as well. This is going to solve the problem. And obviously, I can't put this in my bones, but I did the next best thing. So today when I was walking, I did not wear this because that was quite cumbersome, but I was able to take this on the outside of my shirt, put it all the way down to the line, and then rest this right here. Um, and that is how I walked for 6 miles today, was this right here. And that's actually why I had this on. So you need a tight fitting shirt or a snug fitting, something to hold it on there. Telling you, people may be somewhat resistant, but I always feel like, you know, why not try things, anything? And it's not, I know when I first got sick, I didn't want to be on the phone. I didn't want to be on the computer because I knew it had something to do with my electric field. I just didn't quite solve it, didn't quite put it together. And I had been walking, doing this meditation, connecting myself to the quantum field in a way that I could pull the energy of miracles down into the body. That is something I've been verbally expressing and physically doing um, since last May. I'm all about being done with what I have been experiencing for the past 2 years. If you are having any issues, arthritis, anything, our health all comes from one place, our electromagnetic field that is around our body and in our cells. And if it's not spinning or stops spinning or spinning in the wrong direction, you can change that with copper conductivity. And maybe you don't want to go to a restaurant like me, wearing this around your waist or wearing this in your hair or walking around with this barefooted. But you know what? I don't care. I have no cares. And like I said, I know a couple of you have been really sick in the last couple of years. If you yourself are having issues, even simple things, arthritis, whatever, you may not need or may not feel to be this drastic and use like, this much of this going on here. You can make yourself a copper bracelet. And it doesn't matter what gauge you use. It's all just a matter of comfortability. Now, when I made the neighbor a bracelet, Larry bought me the tool. So I made him a bracelet. But anyway, I mean, it's obviously sharp. This is a really wide gauge. I don't know what gauge it is. But so I just made it and I just wrapped it around the glass and then bent the two ends. So, he's probably not going to wear this thing in public because it goes around his wrist like 3 times. It looks more like a women's bracelet. See, what I say, when you come to the point in your life that you want to connect with healing, you'll do what it takes and you won't care what people think about you in public anymore. So he's wearing that. There's a wand in the neighbor's apartment as well. So I imagine since we have electricity and things running in the house that it would not be, my intuition says it would not be perhaps as strong in the house with all your electric currents and cell phones and refrigerators and stuff like that. Um, it definitely does work in the house. And I will probably take the sick plant and just um, put this wand in my bedroom tonight on my nightstand. Oh, it's shaped like a heart. Well, we'll just magnetize love while we're at it. Um, this is the best I've felt in 2.5 years, and I attribute that to the 48 hours of copper. Now you can say, Tina, it's all in your head. And as I said, I'm not a doctor, and I have to say that. And even though I can't see inside my body, I can see in my cucumber mound, and I know that I have green leaves and flowers and new foliage overnight. So, um, if you want to make something small and dainty for the house, the shish kebab stick was awesome, but very, very, very difficult to wind this fat gauge wire that I got around that. So maybe get a smaller gauge. Also, you can use bamboo and you can cut it if you have garden tools like I do. This is actually a dowel rod you can use because the dowel rod's, it's really stiff and sturdy, so you can easily wind this around the dowel rod. Even a really or even a much thicker um, gauge will not be a problem with the dowel rod. Or I also used dried bamboo, which you can get at any craft store probably, or hardware store, Walmart, whatever. If you have a tiki torch outside, you could even wrap your tiki torch in it. So the important thing is that you want to, if you're doing it inside and you're putting it in a house plant, or you could put it in like a little bucket of sand or however you want to, fill figure it out so that it's going to stand up for you. On the one inside, I did make this loop of copper at the bottom, but the copper needs to be braided, okay, like your DNA. So then if you put a copper loop at the bottom like I did, then you will want to, right after it's done on the stick, you'll want to turn that so that it's slightly coiled to look like your DNA. So you could just put this in, say, under a plant or whatever. It is not necessary to have the stick. You can simply do the coil, but you at least get a dowel rod or something to wrap it around if you don't want to leave the stick in there. You can do it either way. Okay, you're just adding another element of nature with the stick. Again, for your piezoelectric connectivity, it's going to be hard to find volcanic ash or volcanic clay, and that's probably also going to dissipate in the house or especially outside in the rain. So quartz piezoelectric magnifier, and you can make that however you want. This is mind-blowing to me that it took me this long to get back around it, because like I said, the dream with the man telling me that the answer to all healing was the copper coil was 2014. When I looked it up and found the opposite information on the internet at that time, I listened to it. That was also 4 hours before I got sick, and I also forgot about that dream. If you guys have any more questions about this or want the videos, I can send that to you if you like. So I know that it says there's only 3 people here right now. I know Renee, Mary, a couple of you are always here on the live videos. And sometimes there are others of you as well. I have mixed feelings about editing videos because I always like things to be completely and totally organic. But I feel like very recently that there are some things that are incredibly important to get out. The thing is that I don't always know what the incredibly important information to get out is because when I'm prompted to make a video, I don't usually know what it's going to be about. That's how the news that didn't make the news got started, was I didn't know what it was going to be about. On YouTube, you have to have a title. I very much like the organic process. Now, here's the thing. In videos, it's hard for me. I've always been incredibly shy. I never believed in a million years if you ever told me I'd be doing this, I would not believe you. Okay. So when I get on here, and I've gotten better about it, but still, when I get on here, it takes me 10 minutes, 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes to relax to the point where I'm a clear channel, just because of, you know, being on TV, so to speak. So I know that on our frequency right now, the majority of people do not want to watch an hour-long video. I don't want to watch an hour-long video. It better be riveting for me to sit there and do anything for an hour straight. Okay. So there are some things that have been coming up lately that I feel like are super important. And so what I've decided to do is and I may change my mind again next week. I don't know. I've gone back and forth about this several times, but it's me who's been standing in my own way lately. The thing is, since I like the organic process, and there are some people that like to watch live, I was debating not doing live videos anymore, just sitting here and doing them by myself and then editing them and putting them out, because that'll solve the problem of me relaxing enough to be myself. And if you've been watching my videos for a while, so people are like, oh, I can't tell you're nervous or whatever. Well, I'm like nervous, like, oh my God. But I don't relax enough to bring through the whatever is supposed to come through into 20 or 30 minutes into the video. Having said that, where this is going to be when I show up here live, I'm going to do it in its organic fashion. If you want to see the 40-minute video, the hour video, um, whatever it is, you're going to need to be here live, because the last video went from over an hour down to 25 minutes and 55 seconds. 2555. Universal and personal change on an unparalleled level. And I don't want people to miss a few minutes of an important message, because it takes me that long to relax into the reason why I came here. And especially since the time that I was told, hey, just go on there and just do it. You don't need a subject matter. You don't need a title, whatever. That even made me even more nervous. And it's hard to relax in front of the camera in that state. So let me know what you think about this. Let me know what your thoughts are. I mean, it's always the same. There are a lot less people here than normal, but it's always the same people here. So let me know what you think about that. And probably, at least for now, what's going to happen. I don't know if I want to chop anything out of this video about copper. I really don't think that I want to do that, but I don't know. Let me know if you have thoughts about that as well. You rather just, the thing is, I've noticed I've rewatched all my videos several times, because there's always things that I didn't know in there. Now, granted, no opening dialogue and saying how's your Saturday night is really not that important. It's not anything you have to know. But since I know that I'm not, even if I see something in my feed that's an hour long, honestly, I won't click on it. And then, since knowing that, so what I'm saying is, in my knowing of that, I think if there's something important that I feel is important that's not going to get out there, and I'm hoping this message about piezoelectricity, about electroculture, I'm hoping these things will get out there, because that's definitely the first step to healing. But we definitely need this electromagnetic field connection. I have been, like I said, for the last, at least the last year, or since the May before last, I knew that the connectivity to the quantum field, to the electromagnetic field, was what I needed to do. And I have been refining how I've been doing that for a year. There are so many incredible things that have gone on over here in my house. I've deemed my kitchen as a secret lab. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions about this. There's lots of people that are talking about it, so you definitely don't need me as a source of information. I am very happy to have a place to produce my own food, and that's how this presented itself to me, was a way to speed up the food process. But as soon as I had that copper in my hand, I immediately wanted it on my body. And straight after work, I went and bought enough of it to make one wand, only to end up in Menards the next day buying 250 feet of it. It's not cheap to buy copper. But medical care is not cheap either. If you know anybody that needs any, so you can look at the blood, you can look at the bones, you can look at vitamins and minerals, you can look at your diet, you can look at all these things, but and I'm not saying those things do not play a part in this. The main health of your entire body comes from the electromagnetic circuitry around your body's meridian. Okay. If that is stagnant, if that is not spinning, it will be a problem. With ascension, we also have this multidimensionality that's filtering in. And so we have all this high vibrational frequency delivering messages, downloads, codes, altering DNA. And at the same time, you can still be, like I was, sick. Copper is expensive, but this didn't cost more than $5 to make. I'm probably wearing, you know, $20 $30 worth of copper around my waist right now. But yeah, if you guys are, I'm probably, you know, I'm going to be updating you on how my life is going with the copper. My roommate is has been here since last September. She moved in here because I was not able to physically work for a year and a half, and I have no idea how I manifested and made all this happen, how I even did anything. Suffice it to say, she moved in September 22nd of last year because I just, you know, I rented out a room. And this is actually only a one-bedroom apartment. She is moving out in the next week or two, but she's not going very far. She's just moving upstairs. So I will have my apartment back, and my dining room will be separate from my office next time. Let me know if you have any questions about this. You know, if you have any questions about these, about making these, anything like that. I do have a couple videos. Yeah, I can send you the 8-minute video if you're interested in it. There's an hour-long video that's mind-blowing. There's a guy's name who I forget. He on his own did 10,000. He had 10,000 patients that he cured. The information is in the hour-long video. I don't remember his name, and I'm pretty sure the book is impossible to get. I don't always need all the information. Someone can tell me something, and I'm just like, okay, either believe it or I want to try it, or I don't. For me, everything is an experiment when it comes to health and complete wellness. So this guy, just by putting copper on the body, healed 10,000 people. Use your intuition, get it, do it however you want to do it. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. And until next time, I'll see you later. And let me know how the people that are always here feel about the video editing as well. Because like I said, these hour videos are going to be, I don't know if I'm going to do it for this one, but these hour videos are going to be chopped down to 15 or 20 minutes because I don't want the important message that lies somewhere at the end of the video to be skipped by so many people. So yes, thank you for being here. Love you. I'll see you next time. Bye.